Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So it has been quite a long time since I've done any sort of content on here, and it's mostly just because I've been really busy and really tired and just like doing a bunch of stuff. But something that I've really been wanting to get into for a long time is commentary. I have done a few commentary videos kind of like here and there on this channel, so I thought today let's try to dive back into this commentary stuff. Personally, I really like commentary. I really like doing like research and stuff like that, and I'm also really good at yapping about topics that I like and find enjoyable. So I felt like this would be pretty easy for me. So yeah, today's video, I will not be using a script. I just have a bunch of information kind of in this general area. So if you ever see me referencing stuff, it's just the information, but there is no script. I'm just going to be winging it and just yapping about this topic that is very interesting to me. So from the title of today's video, we will be talking about the Dance Moms Iceberg, which if you've never seen an iceberg before, it's basically just a collection of information about one specific topic, and at the very top of the iceberg, it's information that most people know whether you're a fan of the show or not, and at the very bottom of the iceberg is obscure information that only like really big fans know, or most fans may not even know. So today we're going to be reviewing that, and part of this iceberg I found on an iceberg website. I will be leaving credit for that on the screen and in the description box below if you'd like to look at that. But there are also things that I have added to the iceberg. Back when I like worked on this video and thought of this idea, I was working on like building the iceberg with the things I added on it. I don't know if I'm actually going to finish doing that or if I'll just include the pieces I added in the description. You'll find out then, but let's just get right into it. So let's get started with the first tier of the iceberg, the very top. The first entry on the iceberg is Dance Moms. So what is it? Basically, it is a reality TV show about Abby Lee Miller, who is a very well-known dance instructor, and it focuses on her studio in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it follows her junior elite competition team as they get ready for competitions and what have you, and then all of the quarrels that the moms have with each other and with Abby herself. Originally, it was supposed to be just like a 6-episode docuseries, but it ended up being a 6-season-long show, which we will get into the details about that as we go further, but that's just some basic information on what the show is and how it started. So the next entry is 8 seasons. So the show ran for a total of 8 seasons, 7 of which consisted of a similar cast of moms and girls that kind of changed here and there, with some leaving and some new ones coming in, but it still kind of revolved around the same few girls and moms. But in season 8 they had an entirely new cast, which we will be getting into very soon. But after season 8 ended, the show was canceled off Lifetime, which I didn't mention before is the network that aired the TV series. So next, Abby went to jail. In 2017, Abby went to jail due to bankruptcy fraud after she filed in 2012, and she allegedly hid $775,000 of her Dance Moms earnings in her secret bank accounts. And in addition to that, she smuggled 120,000 Australian currency without declaring it at customs. Abby Lee Miller kind of has a problem with money, as we will mention in a couple points of this iceberg. But she's just a character. She is just a character. There's just so many things that she has done. And there was a rumor that in order to smuggle this money, she actually put it in the girls' backpacks in their luggage when they were leaving Australia, which is just diabolical to me. The season 8 cast is different. So as I said before, the original 7 seasons kind of focused on the same main girls, and season 8 was completely different. Reason for this is because towards the end of season 7, the girls and moms just kind of had enough with Abby Lee Miller's stuff, and they left the studio and kind of did their own thing, making their team called the Irreplaceables. They had a couple guest choreographers, but it was mainly choreographed by Cheryl Burke. They ended up basically competing with this team, and once they were done and they had done their final competition of the season, they decided to just be done, decided to end it there and move on to newer and better things. So then the show was supposed to be over at that point, but after Abby was released from jail and survived cancer, Lifetime kind of wanted this like, you know, Abby's back situation and have her come back, and they hired a new cast of moms and girls, which of course only lasted 1 season, and I will touch on why that is very soon. infamous fight. So there are basically several infamous fights that most people have heard of. One of the biggest ones is the Kelly and Abby fight that occurred in season 4, resulting in Kelly having to leave the show, which we will again cover as we get further into the Iceberg. There were just lots of fights, such as the fight where Kelly called Abby fat, the Christi and Leslie brawl in New Orleans, and then again the Kelly versus Abby fight. A lot of these are mostly well known because people will make edits and make little jokes about them on social media. So personally, that's how I started getting into the show, was by seeing people make edits and stuff about the show and all these crazy fights, and that's why I started watching the show. But yeah, most people, even if you haven't watched the show religiously, you probably know about these fights at least. Abby kissed Maddie. So in season 4, episode 22, Abby was basically like pressuring Maddie, which is supposed to be like her like star dancer, like her favorite, into kissing this male guest dancer named Gino. And they were both probably around like 12 at this time. Like they were still very much like children. And because Maddie was too afraid to kiss him, Abby just got in Maddie's face and just kissed her on the lips without her consent, which is just kind of weird and messed up in my opinion, and just not something that like we would allow nowadays. And I guess that's why that's on this Iceberg, because it's just kind of disturbing and just weird, and like, why would you kiss an underage child without their consent? Like, I know that they kind of have had a close relationship, but still, I just think that's disgusting and just really weird. Kendall went to Candy Apples. This is super short. In season 2 of Dance Moms, Jill kind of had this big blow up after she had been on the team for a few weeks and had just kind of had enough of Abby, and so she ended up taking Kendall to Candy Apples to dance, which is the like competitive team. It's like the rival team. And she only ended up going there for like, I think 3 to 4 episodes, and then she ended up coming back to the LDC, but it's just something that was on the Iceberg. So next, something that I added was that the Vertes didn't want to go to Candy Apples. So it was revealed in a like live show that the Irreplaceables did when they were on like the Irreplaceables tour, where the Dance Moms, so they kind of revealed some information that most people didn't know about, like some behind the scenes stuff. And one of the things that Jill mentioned was that they didn't actually want to go to Candy Apples. They were actually going to leave the show when Jill had her blow up, but the producers told her that they were not leaving the show and that they were going to instead go to Candy Apples. So that's why they went to Candy Apples, not by their choice at all. So now it is time to move on to the second tier of the Iceberg. The first entry is the Dawn Check interview, which is something that I added onto the Iceberg in an episode of Christy's Couch, which is Christy Lukaziak's like little podcast, very slay. I would definitely recommend checking it out. She interviewed Dawn Check, who got into a fight with Abby in the first episode, where she like stormed in and just started going off on Abby. And it's probably one of the most like memeable fights that a lot of people will make fun of, because a lot of people genuinely kind of thought that this woman was in the wrong and they called her a Karen and a bunch of stuff. But in this interview, we actually hear a lot of information that makes us realize that Dawn was not in the wrong whatsoever. There was a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes. Basically, Abby made some sort of like comment to her daughter saying that she needed to go to the children's hospital because her brain wasn't correct or something like that, and basically like called her autistic, which is just messed up because apparently she had an autistic brother. So it was like this whole thing where she like just like said all these horrible things, and this poor girl was like distraught, and her mom wasn't even there. So like other moms in the studio, I guess, called her and let her know. And that's when she came in and stormed in. But it really sucks because she actually didn't get any money from being on the show, which like go figure, but whatever. And she also obviously suffered like several professional repercussions because of it. But it has become now a little bit more well known that all of that was, you know, not really her fault. And her daughter have been on TikTok making a couple of videos about it. So that's good, at least that we understand her story. But I just could not imagine going there and trying to stand up for my daughter and then just being posed as this person that is just completely wrong and is like known as a Karen. Sarah, season 8, went to Studio 19. So this is again just kind of a small entry that Sarah in the season 8 cast went to Studio 19 prior to the show, and that's kind of why there was such a rivalry between Studio 19 and the Junior League competition team in that season. Abby's dog died in season 3. So this is kind of one of those pieces of information that a lot of people kind of tend to forget because of the chaos of Dance Moms. But in season 3 of the show, Abby's dog unfortunately passed away of old age, I believe. And it was a really, really sad episode to watch, especially because Abby was very clearly hurt by the whole thing. But honestly, that's all I have to say about that entry. The next entry is very similar to this. Again, something that kind of happened that some people kind of tend to forget about is that Abby's mom died in season 4. So unfortunately, in season 4 of Dance Moms, Abby's mom, Marion Lorraine Miller, passed away because she lost her battle to cancer at the age of 86, which very sad, and it definitely really affected Abby. And again, it was really hard to watch on TV, but there's not much else to say other than that. Chloe and Kendall went to Studio 19 after the show. So it was stated that apparently after season 7 wrapped up filming, Chloe and Kendall also attended Studio 19 for a short amount of time, which I believe was just kind of found out through different like clips and posts from them, which is just kind of interesting because I don't know, it's just kind of coincidental that they ended up going to this team, this studio that ended ended up being a rival to the ALDC. Like, what are the odds? Abby went to the judges after the You Can Be Anything dance. So in season 3, episode 23 of Dance Moms, Abby assigned Maddie and Chloe the same choreography, same costume, same everything. And point of that was to, in Abby's point of view, it was basically to shut Christi up, because Christi was always saying that Maddie always had better choreography and that's why she'd always beat Chloe. So Abby gave them the same choreography. They competed against each other and Chloe ended up actually winning, which was like a big deal for her because she's was always second to Maddie, you know, and that's how she felt, even though Chloe was a brilliant, beautiful dancer. And Abby was just always really hard on her, so it was like a really good moment on the show to see her kind of have this glory moment. But this glory moment is short-lived, because soon after the results are announced, a judge comes into the room and announces that they actually got the scores wrong and that Maddie ended up winning instead of Chloe. But here's why. Because Abby apparently went up to the judges and told them that they were wrong and showed them an error in the score sheet. Now, there was a real error in the score sheet. Apparently, they gave Chloe extra points in a category, like it was like 27 out of 25 or something like that. So yes, like there was a mistake, but they probably wouldn't have noticed that if Abby didn't say anything, and they most likely wouldn't have gone in there and changed that if that were the case. They probably wouldn't have done anything like that, but whatever. It was just kind of messed up of Abby to do that, because clearly she did that not because she was genuinely concerned of a mistake. She just genuinely could not believe that Chloe beat Maddie, which is just kind of messed up. Sponsored dances. So there were several dances in the Dance Mom series that were sponsored. A lot of times you can tell when they're sponsored or not because they like showed like a trailer of the movie. Like I think there was like this Angry Birds dance in season 8 where they showed the Angry Birds movie trailer. So yeah, I mean, that's honestly all to say about that. There's just a couple sponsored dances in there. The real reason that the moms left at the beginning of season 3. Season 3 started with the moms storming out of the ALDC and going on strike because Kelly and the Highlands were kicked off the team. So to kind of get back at Abby, they all left and decided they wanted to go do stuff on their own with Kelly. But the interesting thing is this has nothing to do with actually why they left. They didn't leave because Kelly got kicked off the team. It was actually proven in several tweets found by Max Z-Boss, which we'll get into in a little bit, that the moms and the girls actually left because they were unhappy with how much they were getting paid, which is very understandable. And it doesn't surprise me that the producers wanted to make it seem like another thing rather than the fact they weren't getting paid enough, because they obviously want to paint this picture that they're getting paid copious amounts of money, but they were not getting paid very much. They had really bad things on this contract. Like it was a really crappy contract. And I believe that's also on this Iceberg. But yeah, it was kind of messed up. And eventually I guess they were able to get something worked out. And that's why they all ended up coming back to the team anyway. Chloe was excluded in season 4. So in season 4 of Dance Moms, Chloe was not invited to be in Mackenzie's music video and was excluded from several other events that the ALDC did that were on and off camera. And it was just really hard to watch, but also hard to hear about, that there were all these things that she was being excluded from. Now, Chloe did reveal in a YouTube video that this was most likely because her and her mom were not a part of the ALDC contract anymore because they refused to sign it due to a lot of the like weight constrictions. Like apparently they couldn't gain or lose more than 10 pounds within a season, which is just ridiculous, especially for like growing teenagers that are going to gain or lose 10 pounds within a year. Like that's just ridiculous to me. And it honestly just sucks that them not agreeing to these stupid rules would result in Chloe being treated badly. Like it just sucks. And there was no way for them to get out of the show. They were stuck in the show anyway, so it's not like they could just leave the show. They had to be on the show, but they weren't a member of the company, unfortunately, because I guess Lifetime sucks. Kira mole removal between season 4 and season 5. So it was stated by Abby in this like season 7, like it was some like episode where she like talked about a bunch of things that had occurred throughout her time on the show and whatnot. And one of the things she mentioned was that in between season 4 and season 5, Kira had to get this like mole removed from her nose because the producers didn't want her on the show with this mole, which is just kind of interesting. Like, could you imagine being a producer and being like, yeah, so like we can't have you on the show because you have this mole on your nose, and such a weird like reason to keep someone from being on the show, and like that is what you want them to do. But yeah, Abby and Kathy knew each other before filming the show. So during an interview on The Rosie Show, Abby and Kathy admitted that they have always liked each other. They'd met each other prior to the show and they've always gotten along, which has also been confirmed and stated by Kathy and Abby since the show's ended. And it's honestly really interesting because on the show, it honestly seems like they absolutely despise each other. So they're really good at acting like they don't like each other because apparently they're like best friends. But the more interesting part is the fact that the producers of Dance Moms let Abby and Kathy say this on live television in like 2012 when the show was at its peak. Like, I just find that really interesting that they allowed for that to happen. I mean, maybe it was just like a deleted clip that got resurfaced or something, but like I just think that's really interesting that they kind of just let that happen. Didn't raise an eyebrow, but whatever. Kelly and Abby's relationships. This is another thing I added onto the iceberg. If you didn't know, Kelly and Abby knew each other prior to the show. Kelly danced with Abby for a very long time, and when Kelly was old enough to have her own kids, she had them come to the dance studio and dance. And obviously their relationship is very rocky, as we have seen from the show, and it honestly kind of makes them having a bad time on the show more depressing, because you just kind of think about the fact that they've known each other for the longest. And when I first started watching the show and I knew this information, I was always like, why are they fighting so much if they've known each other for so long? Like, it just kind of sucks that their relationship is so rocky, considering like Kelly's commitment to the team and the fact that she brought her girls to dance with her. Like, it just really sucks that their relationship was really bad, but I honestly just blame it on Abby. I think Abby was just horrible to the Highlands and to Kelly. Christi and Abby's previous relationship. So something that's really interesting that a lot of people don't know at all is that Christi actually got along with Abby for the longest time, and they had a very close relationship prior to the filming of the show. It was revealed in several of her videos. She's mentioned before that her and Abby used to do different things all the time. Like, she would invite her over for Christmas and they used to hang out and do this, that, and the other, which is honestly really interesting, but it would make sense, because why would you hire someone to teach your kid dance if they were being a horrible person? So it makes sense that prior to the show's filming they got along, but it is very unfortunate to know that they have not gotten along since. However, I don't blame Christi not wanting to talk to Abby anymore, considering all of the crazy things that Abby has said to Christi and her daughter. I mean, the horrible things that she said in general are just disgusting. So it honestly doesn't surprise me at all that they don't get along to this day. So now we are getting into the next level of the iceberg, and this is where it kind of starts to get just a little bit darker. We're going to kind of be talking about a few more mature themes that might make you feel uncomfortable or might trigger you, so just trigger warning. There will be discussions of EDs, I believe abuse, and some like SA kind of stuff, or just like disgusting like type things, so just watch out. Chloe had an ED because of Abby. Chloe stated in a few YouTube videos that she had an eating disorder as a result of Abby, and Abby apparently used to fat shame all the girls several times off camera before and during the course of the show. The moms have kind of spoken out about this, that she used to like make them do leaps with, or grandités with, like pounds of potatoes, and would tell them like, this is what 1 pound of fat feels like or whatnot, and like gave all of their tummies or like their stomachs names, and like would write their weights on this like board in like the studio entryway, so that everyone coming in the studio could just see all of the girls' weights, which I just think is absolutely disgusting. And like, what is the point of that? What is the point of that at all? Abby complained to judges when Chloe beat Cameron in season 4, episode 16. So it was stated on a Dance Moms AfterBuzz that Abby complained to the judges when Chloe beat Cameron in season 4, episode 16. And apparently Abby claimed that Chloe already had enough fans and followers, and that she didn't deserve the win as much as Cameron did. Which, just say you don't like Chloe. Just say you don't want her to win. Like, that's the dumbest reason I've ever heard of in my entire life. Kendall, Kalani, and Jill are Trump supporters. So it was discovered during COVID and the whole 2020 election that Kendall, Kalani, and Jill are all proud Trump supporters, which if you're liberal like myself, it obviously sucks, but what are you gonna do? Mackenzie vaped and lied about it. So in 2018, videos of Mackenzie vaping were leaked, and she claimed to be using a monk, which is like simply water vapor mixed with essential oils to relax people and wake them up, and it supposedly helps with anxiety, but sources have said that the product did not look like a monk at all, and that the smoke looked too thick to be water vapor. So it was discovered by several people that she had to have been lying, and it was 100% a vape. But again, we have no idea. Mackenzie's also growing up, so it's not our place to be concerned and be focusing and being like, you know, why are you vaping? Like, that's her life. She can do what she wants to. Sus camera angles on some dances. So during certain dances, a lot of people, including myself, have kind of like just realized that there's just some really weird camera angles during some of the dances that were just kind of inappropriate. Some of them kind of seem to zoom in on the girls' private areas, and it's honestly more sickening knowing now that some of the cameramen were accused of CP possession. So that just makes me very uncomfortable. And speaking of weird camera angles and disgusting dances, Fantastic Dance. In season 2, episode 9, the girls did a dance called Fantastic, where the girls wore skin-colored costumes and used fans to cover them up. And even though they were wearing stuff underneath the fans, Abby told them that they wanted the audience to think that they were nude. So Abby wanted the audience to think that a bunch of 7, 8, 9-year-olds were on stage dancing nude, with the only thing covering their private parts were pink fans. Nothing nothing wrong with that at all, right? It's just really disgusting considering the girls were like really young during this time. I mean, this was season 2. Like, that's just disgusting. And so the more I find out about this show, the more disturbed I get. Maxi Boss. Now, Maxi Boss, I've mentioned her a little bit in this video. She is a YouTuber that makes Dance Moms content and is most famously known for her Dance Moms Uncovered series, which is just fabulous. And she's honestly the reason why I was able to find a lot of this information, just because I've watched her videos so much that I have it all like implanted in my brain. So honestly, I would definitely consider watching her. Another interesting series that she does is Dance Moms Unedited, where she has somehow got her hands on like production papers of different notes and stuff that they took throughout the filming of the show, which is just like so crazy, and it's honestly really interesting to watch. So I would definitely, again, recommend. I will put her YouTube in the description box below. Hey guys, it's editing me, and my phone decided to die around when I started talking about the next entry, so I had to restart, and the camera angle might be a little different, and I'm so sorry. Abby never wanted JoJo on the team. So in an AfterBuzz TV interview with Abby and the girls, Abby stated that the producers made her have JoJo on the show, and she actually did not want JoJo on the show. She said that she wanted to have someone younger so they could bring their age category down or something like that. I don't fully remember exactly what she said, but she didn't want JoJo on the show. And Brian Stinson, one of the producers from Dance Moms, actually talked about this on a video on Instagram, and it's actually quite funny. He has like a recording of her saying that she does not want JoJo on the team. And Jesselyn also stated in her podcast that Abby threatened removal like several times throughout the show. So yeah, Abby definitely didn't want JoJo to be on the team, but I just think that's really funny considering JoJo's the only girl Abby talks to this day. And look at all of the success JoJo has had. JoJo was bullied by the girls. So in season 5, whenever they went to Australia, JoJo was picked on by the girls in like this interview, and it was discussed on the show, but it wasn't really talked about anywhere else. Apparently there was some video leaked of the ALDC girls mimicking JoJo for her speech impediment and like making fun of her voice and stuff. And there was a whole section of the episode where you know, the moms talked to the girls about it, and JoJo, you know, and the girls talked, and the girls apologized, and it was this whole thing. But it was really crappy of them to do, and I remember watching that episode and being kind of like, oh well, like that's like really mean. That's horrible. Time for the next tier. Abby's Studio Rescue. Abby's Studio Rescue is basically a spin-off series where Abby goes to different studios and helps renovate the dance studios. It's just like Bar Rescue or Kitchen Nightmares, but of course it's Abby Lee Miller and Dance Studios. I think it only had like 6 episodes and then it was done. It's really not that like amazing of a show. Like, it's interesting, I guess, but it's just really not that riveting. So it definitely makes sense why it didn't last very long. Abby insulted Chloe's eye in season 4. So during the season 4 nationals, Abby and Christi had an altercation which resulted in Christi and Chloe deciding to leave the show, but it was edited to make it seem like Abby called Chloe washed up, but apparently Abby told Christi to get Chloe's eye fixed, which was just completely horrible to say because Chloe actually had a condition called silent sinus syndrome where one eye was bigger than the other, and she was extremely insecure about it. Abby knew that, and Abby chose to make fun of it, and that was just completely wrong. And that actually was the reason why they left, not because Abby called her washed up, but because she made fun of her eye. Real pyramid filming time. This was something I added. It was stated by the cast members in lots of different videos that the pyramids actually took several hours to film, even though like they only consist of like 10 minutes tops of the episode. Apparently it took several hours to film all the segments because they had to refilm like entrances and the moms would fight, and there's a bunch of stuff that resulted in the long filming time of these pyramids. Two Sapphires broke Dance Moms. Two Sapphires was a duet performed by Kalani and Maddie in season 4 episode 7, and this duet caused a lot of drama between Christi, Kelly, and Melissa, and is a catalyst to Kelly blowing up on Abby, resulting in Kelly's departure from the show. And since Kelly leaving the show was one of the first big departures of the show, a lot of people say that the duet broke Dance Moms. And speaking of that fight, Kelly versus Abby season 4 fight. So this was a physical altercation that occurred on season 4 episode 7 that happened while attending a competition in New York. Abby threatened to replace Brooke with Kalani, resulting in Kelly arguing back, which then led to Abby getting in Kelly's face, pretending to bite her, and then Kelly scratching Abby on the face and pulling her hair. The police were then called and the Highlands were escorted away, and there was even a court case afterwards. And I don't think that Kelly ended up losing any money, but I'm pretty sure Abby like sued her or tried to sue her or something like that. I also know that Paige tried to sue Abby after that, but I don't know if Paige got anything out of that. It was a whole big thing, and it makes season 4 almost unwatchable for me because I just cannot. It makes me feel really bad for Kelly, first of all, but just watching Dance Moms without Kelly and the Highlands, it's just really hard to watch. I honestly love the Highlands so much, and the way they departed was just so unfortunate, but the good thing is they were able to get out of there, and we will discuss. It was at this point that my phone decided to run out of storage, so it cut off my thought, but what I was saying was that we were going to be discussing how hard it was for the moms to get out of the contracts later on. Sorry for the changed angle again. Everything is against me today. Abby is racist. So basically, Abby has been exposed by several cast members that she's made several racist comments on and off camera, and a lot of these were exposed during the BLM movement in 2020. On camera, Abby told Nia that her braids were disgusting in an episode, but off camera she said that they looked like worms. She also made a comment to Nia at one point, pointing off camera, saying that she didn't want any little Tooties on the team. And for those who don't know, that's in reference to Tootie, who is the only African-American character on The Facts of Life. Very great, Abby. Abby also made a comment to Adriana from season 8, telling her that she knows that she's used to growing up with a box of 16 crayons because she was poor, as opposed to Abby's box of 64. Which doesn't really make sense to me, but whatever. Abby was fired from Lifetime in 2020. So as I stated just a minute ago, during the BLM movement, several of the moms and the girls came out about the racial comments that Abby had made, and this actually resulted in Lifetime firing her for good, and that's why Dance Mom season 9 never happened. And earlier in the Iceberg, towards the very top, I mentioned that after season 8, there was no other season. That's why. The show got canceled because Abby is a racist, horrible person. Melissa had an affair. It was mentioned in several fights between Melissa and Christi that Melissa did have an affair with her boss, and it was actually found that Melissa did in fact cheat on her husband with her boss and her previous boss, who she is with now, which is just crazy because it's just one of those things that you would assume is just a rumor, but the fact that it's actually true just blows my mind. Next tier, Dance Moms Miami. Dance Moms Miami was another spin-off show about another dance company in Miami, and it only ran for like one season and follows Victor Smalley and Angel Armis, the co-owners of Stars Dance Studio. Basically, it was just a flop of a show. Chloe wasn't a member of the ELDC in season 4, so I did kind of touch on this before because I actually kind of forgot it was on the Iceberg, but like I said before in some of Chloe's YouTube videos, she mentioned that she was not a part of the studio in season 4. They did not want to sign the contract due to the crazy weight constrictions. Melissa involved with the Australia scandal. There's been a lot of speculation that Melissa was actually involved with the smuggling of the Australian money, which is just kind of funny to me. It has been stated that she assisted Abby in smuggling the Australian money by, as I said before, helping to put it in the girls' bags. During Abby's court sentencing, Melissa apparently got immunity to speak, which is absolutely not suspicious at all. Of course, Abby has very openly discussed this on several interviews and whatnot because it's Abby, but it's honestly just very interesting to me, but also not really surprising considering Melissa and Abby were like this back then. Removed season 2 episode. So the episode where the girls did the fantastic dance was actually removed from all streaming platforms due to the inappropriate nature and controversy surrounding the dance. This is the only Dance Moms episode that has ever been removed and can only be found online on some places or on the DVD releases of season 2. 6-season contract. So I added this, and this basically talks about the contract. Maxie Boss made a video about this a while back discussing Dance Moms contracts, and in this video it was mentioned by several different cast members that the moms were all roped into a 6-season contract that the moms could not get out of. Originally it was supposed to only be a 6-episode docu-series, but then it was changed into a 6-season series. It sounds a bit confusing, and I have no idea how the producers were able to do that, but it was claimed that the moms tried to get out of the contract several times, but to no avail. So the next entry is actually how the moms were able to get out of the contracts after trying for years, which is another thing I added. So the question that was kind of sparked from the last entry was exactly how the moms were able to get out of those contracts, and some of this is just speculation, some of this is actually proven to be true. Kelly was able to get out because of the lawsuit that occurred after the fight in season 4. She attempted to sue Lifetime, and with her attempts, they decided to fire her from Lifetime, and then she was obviously just not a part of the show by their choice, obviously. And so far, it's currently really unknown how Christi was able to get out of her contract, but it's speculated that after the season 3 strike that there was an amendment to her contract, maybe like during that whole thing, they allowed her to not have to stay the whole 6 seasons. We don't know. And for Melissa, she was just able to leave because the contract was over, and the same goes for the other moms during season 7. I mean, they were only signed to a 6-season contract, so they were able to leave whenever the contract was done. That's that. Lastly, just Jocelyn was able to leave in season 6 because apparently the contract that they had signed hadn't been finalized in LA. Originally, they shot in Pittsburgh, but season 5 kind of took place in LA a little bit, but season 6 and 7 were completely in LA. So the contract hadn't been finalized in LA apparently. So there was like this loophole for the CITED, so they were able to get out of it. But for more information, I would definitely suggest checking out Maxie Boss's videos on the Dance Moms contracts. Jeff's threats, another thing I added. Speaking of the contracts, the moms have come out about a lot of things that Jeff Collins has done. Another name for this entry could be Jeff Collins is a piece of shit, because Jeff Collins is a piece of shit. I never mentioned this, but Jeff Collins is like the head of Dance Moms. Like, he's the big time producer. According to Melissa, he would make a lot of threats to the moms if they threatened to leave or break their contract. And he would also just do things to threaten them into not doing so. Apparently one time, Jeff went into Melissa's car and told her that he would own her kids, her car, her house, and everything that she owned, which is just so fucked up. I mean, could you really imagine making all of those threats and being like, yeah, I'm gonna take away everything from you if you leave my show? Like, that's just so awful and just very inhumane. Reunions are fake, another thing I added. So there have been a lot of people coming out about the reality of these supposed reunions. And then it was stated by one of Abby's friends that all the dances are filmed prior to the filming of the reunion and are not actually performed during the reunion filming. It has also been pointed out by Mackenzie Boss that they have used the same audience shots over and over again throughout seasons. In the video that she talked about it, there was like a clip from season 3 that was used in season 6 that I didn't even realize. Like, that's incredible to me. And also a lot of the other guest stars were claimed and proven to be staged. Like, there was an episode in season 3 where like some fangirls came on and that was completely fake. Completely fake. The next entry is some competitions are fake. So I didn't write anything down for this information, but Maxie Boss does a video about it. Basically, a lot of the competitions have been found to be fake. There's been several competitions that the production team has just straight up made up and created and made a sign for, etc. And there were also some competitions where people in the audience stated that they were told to come up on stage to make it seem like they were competing when they weren't. Also, obviously, some of the results were very clearly fake. One of the biggest things that the Dance Moms cast had said is that all the competitions were pretty much fake because due to child labor laws, where you couldn't have, you know, underage kids be on camera for too long because it's considered child labor. So because of that, they were not able to go to real competitions with real schedules and real competition times because in theory they'd be working all day long, which is not allowed. So we are now on the final tier of the Dance Moms iceberg. Kira was arrested for scamming people and didn't do community service. So in season 4, Tracy Reasons, who was a guest mom who had a past with Kira, told the moms that Kira was arrested for credit card fraud, but she wasn't exactly correct about what happened. Apparently, documents obtained by Radar Online show that Kira was arrested in connection to a fraud scheme that included theft of funds and a failure to deliver goods in October 2005. She was indicted on 4 counts of felony charges and 1 count of attempted theft. She allegedly tricked 4 people into paying an estimated total of $15,525 for HD televisions on eBay and then not giving them the TVs or giving them refunds. She at first denied this and said someone was using her name and accounts, but then pled guilty, resulting in having to pay almost $6,000 in fines and 2 years on probation. Well done, Kira. Well done. Season 5 choreographer arrested for CP. One of the season 5 choreographers, more specifically one of them that helped with the whole Maddie B video thing, was arrested for possession of CP, which is just obviously horrible and disgusting. But again, the fact that he was around all of those kids. And he is not the only cast member to have been arrested for CP. We've already talked about that, but it's just messed up. Dance Moms was supposed to be a housewife show, so I don't really have a lot of information on this, but Abby kind of mentioned in some of her YouTube videos that Dance Moms is supposed to be like a housewife show or something, that originally it was supposed to be like this thing, but they liked Abby Lee Miller so much that they made it into a dance show, which I don't think is true because Christi, who's honestly more reliable, had mentioned before how that whole thing started, so I honestly don't really believe this theory, but maybe it's true. A man claims to be Brooke's husband on Facebook. So there was a situation where this like really creepy guy had claimed to be like Brooke's husband on Facebook and like stalked her and like kept trying to like meet up with her, and it was just honestly really disturbing. I don't have a lot of information on it. It was in one of Maxie Boss's videos, but it's just gross. And the last thing is Eliana's brother attacked her and Yolanda. So basically there was a bunch of drama with Eliana's brother where originally her brother was saying how Yolanda was being abusive to Eliana and to Eliana's brother and saying all these things, but it actually just so happened that Eliana's brother had a bunch of mental health problems and like attacked them both, and I'm pretty sure he is in jail right now, but he's like a lunatic and like a crazy person, and apparently he like tried to get people to believe that Yolanda was the crazy person. So do with that information what you will. And with that, that is the end of the Dance Moms Iceberg. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It was really fun to kind of do this little deep dive into the Dance Moms lore. I'm sorry it wasn't like as detailed or as informational as probably some of the other videos out there are. Again, please make sure to watch Maxi Boss. She is the reason why I was able to get all this information so fast and efficiently, is because I've just always loved her videos. So please check her out, and also comment down below any other commentary ideas that you would be interested in, and let me know if this is something that you like. Personally, it's something that I really enjoy, and I hope that you guys enjoy it as well. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.